Jones, America's sweetheart, the small-town girl who became an overnight sensation. Who could forget her in the lead role of Laurie in the famous musical Oklahoma? And then there were all those movies. The Music Man, Carousel, April Love, and Shirley's biggest reward was a much-deserved Academy Award for her role as a prostitute in Elmer Gantry. While Shirley's career was blooming, so was her love life. She married Jack Cassidy and had 3 sons, Sean, Patrick, and Ryan. The marriage ended in divorce, and tragedy struck when Jack was killed in a fire. But Shirley kept on going. She landed a role as everyone's favorite mom with a musical family, the Partridge Family. Shirley shared the limelight with her stepson David in this popular TV show. Shirley's happily married now to a very nutty, fun-loving Marty Engels. And there's plenty more in store for Shirley Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, America's favorite actress and very special friend, Shirley Jones. Oh, great. Oh, great. You look so wonderful. We have to tell you a secret. I mean, she's the bravest woman I know. She is celebrating a very special birthday that she's proud of. Ta-da! 60. What did Gloria Steinem say? This is the way 60 looks. That was what Gloria Steinem said, which I think is absolutely wonderful. Shirley Jones, as you've seen on our clip, has done it all, the stage, the screen, television, and probably one of those rare people in show business, because they are very rare, who's had a real overnight success story. It doesn't happen her way. It happens my way. 26 years without a dime is the way it happens. Don't listen to her if you're going to go into show business. But how did it start?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, people don't believe the story. As a matter of fact, it's the kind that they make movies about, and then they say, oh, that doesn't happen in real life. But it did happen to me. I was just out of high school, really, and I was on my way to college, and I came to New York on a summer holiday on my way to college, and I knew a piano player here who had played for me at the Pittsburgh Playhouse in Pennsylvania, and called him, and we kind of started to sing a little bit, and he said, listen, I'd like you to meet an agent friend of mine. So I sang for the agent, and the agent said, you know, you got to be crazy. You can't go to college. I know I can keep you working in New York. So after a long sort of trial, and me being the one that's saying, no, I've got to go to school. I love singing, but I have to get an education. My parents said, listen, do it. This is what you want to do, do it. My very first audition was for the Rodgers and Hammerstein office for their casting director. At that time, Rodgers and Hammerstein had about, I think, 3 shows running on Broadway. So every week they would have open auditions to replace their chorus people. And I went back to Pittsburgh, then came back with about $125, and I said to my father, now, if I don't get a job before this runs out, I'm coming home and going to school.
Huh.
And
$125 in New York. You had breakfast.
In New York, exactly. Well, this was 1953.
Right.
So, got a little tiny apartment with another girl, by the way, for $75 a month.
Don't anybody come to the city and expect that.
And my first audition, I was in New York a week, was for the Rodgers and Hammerstein office. I went in, sang my couple of songs for the casting director, and he said, what have you done? Where are you from? And I said, nothing. I've done nothing. I've only been here a week. And he said, well, I would like Mr. Rodgers to hear you personally. He just happens to be across the street rehearsing his orchestra for Oklahoma, which was about to open at City Center and then go out on another road tour. And I said, oh, wonderful. So Richard Rodgers came over. I sang the same 2 songs for him. And he said, Shirley, could you wait for about 20-25 minutes? I'm going to call Oscar Hammerstein at home.
Oh, sure.
And have him come and hear you.
Hey, why not?
Now, my pianist, it was a Thanksgiving weekend, and he had an airplane to catch. He said, Shirley, I can't wait with you. And I said, what do you mean you can't wait? What am I going to do? And Richard Rodgers said, never mind, we have the full orchestra. You can come over and sing with the orchestra.
Had you ever...
My first audition, I'd never sung with him. This was a symphony. This was the City Center
You've
Symphony.
never sung with an orchestra?
Never, ever. So I said, well, I'm not sure. He said, don't worry about it. So Oscar arrived. We went across the street, you know, and he said, do you know the score of Oklahoma? And I said, well, I know the music. I don't know the words, much to Oscar's chagrin, who had written the lyrics. He said, you don't know that? I said, no. He said, well, we just happen to have a score. He gave me a score of Oklahoma. I stood on the stage with the full City Center Orchestra and sang People Will Say We're in Love, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning in Oklahoma. Knees shaking and score shaking, you know, in front of my face, so I didn't have to look at these two men.
Were you scared?
Scared to death. But, you know, I was so naive and so new to the business and so green from a small town in Pennsylvania that I thought this happened to everybody. I said, oh, this is easy. This is what show business is all about, you know.
Your whole life, every time you guys have heard those songs, this is the original lady who sang it. Which was the biggest song from that? Was it People Will Say We're in Love?
I think it's the most known. Of course, Oklahoma, I mean, that's, you know, sort of become the state song since then. But the love ballad, People Will Say, I think, is the one that everybody kind of knows and loves, you know.
When you opened in that role, which is the leading role in Oklahoma, what did they pay you? Do you know?
Well, I was the one and only person ever put under personal contract to Rodgers and Hammerstein themselves.
Oh.
See, I was not with a studio. They did the film at MGM, part of it. Most of it was location. But they had their own company, and they put me personally under contract for $500 a week.
Wow.
That was a lot of money.
It was.
That was a lot of money. So that was...
The next show on Broadway was what?
Well, you mean in movies.
Okay, movies,
yeah,
right?
movies, because I didn't really do anything on Broadway. They put me into the chorus of South Pacific, you understand, before I did the film. And I was in
chorus
that
in South Pacific on Broadway. Then the movie Oklahoma.
Then the movie Oklahoma. Then Carousel. I went to Europe after I'd done the movie of Oklahoma. Rodgers and Hammerstein sent a company, a Oklahoma stage company, to Europe for a sort of a goodwill tour. It was called the Salute to France. And, of course, my leading man was Jack Cassidy.
Oh,
that's how we
see,
met.
we have to ask her about her love life. And I think maybe we ought to start with what's it like to kiss some of those famous men. So when we come back, she'll tell us about being in the arms of, I don't know, Marlon Brando and James Cagney and people like that. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Hello, Shirley. If you notice a sort of a carnival atmosphere here today, it's because we're all celebrating your birthday and wishing you a very, very happy day. And incidentally, welcome to the very elite group of those of us who have cracked the big 6-0. It is a very, very special crowd. We wish you happiness and joy in the next 40 years, and your beauty and your talent is a credit to us all. God bless you.